Parshat Bechukotai. Our Parsha begins in Bechukotai Telecho. If you walk and follow my chukos, my decrees, ves mitzvosai tishmoru, and you guard my mitzvahs, v'asisamoisum, and you do them, then there's a whole slew of blessings that will flow. And the opposite, chas v'shalom, if one does not listen, im lo yishmuli v'lo yisasu es kol hamitzvos ha'elu, then there's a terrible klolis that we find here in the Teichacha. It's interesting. Rashi tells us from Chazal Toras Konim in Bechukotai Telechu that you walk in my chukos. It refers to something specific. Shetihiyu amelim b'Torah, that you should immerse yourself and engage in Torah, in ascertaining what does Hashem want from me. How am I supposed to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem through Torah? Im amelim, until amelim b'Torah. And it's interesting, if so, why the Torah didn't just say, if you'll be amil in Torah and you'll do my mitzvahs. Why does it have to write im bechukotai telechu? If you walk in my chukos, you walk in my statutes. Now, we look at this parasha and we think it's very nice. It sounds somewhat idyllic, but it doesn't really relate to us. In Bechukotai Telechu, let's just close this window. In Bechukotai Telechu, and the Torah seems to be telling us brachas that we don't always see are reserved for those that immerse themselves in Torah. V'nosati gishmechem be'itam, there'll be an abundance, the rain will come in its perfect time, and the earth will give forth an abundance of produce, its fruit, and there'll be a constant engagement, there'll be constant hissig, v'chem daishes batzal, and there'll be any shortage, everything will be fruitful and multiply. We look at people studying Torah, and we see more often than not that they live with great self-sacrifice, they live with deprivation, as the Gemara tells us. Hillel is mechayev aniyim. There was no greater symbol of one who sacrificed himself for the study of Torah in poverty than Hillel himself, and that's held up as a standard bearer for all of us. The Mishnah tells us, Kachi darka shel Torah, this is the way of Torah. Pas b'melech teichel, mayim b'msura tishte. You're going to just have a very simple, frugal existence, and then b'Torah ata omel. Then it seems almost that this is the pathway. Otherwise, Torah is inaccessible. So why is the Torah here guaranteeing us all these great blessings and abundance for the study of Torah? It almost detracts from the study of Torah. And not only that, but surely we find that many of those that actually did study Torah lived in great deprivation. We talked last week about the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, the 24,000 Talmidim. We talked about the Gemara tells us the Doru shel Chizkiyahu where bodku midon v'ad Be'er-Sheva. They were able to. There was such a great connection to Torah that they checked from the bottom of the land to the top of the land to everywhere. Midon v'ad Be'er-Sheva, from the north to the south, they didn't find any child that wasn't baki in all the intricate laws of Tumah and Tahara. And yet the Gemara tells us that generation was one where Shisha miskasim b'talis echad, 6 covered themselves in one talis. It would almost seem that they lived a life of great poverty. It also obviously refers to the fact that they were selfless, that they were able to share and give to one another. But we know it doesn't go hand in hand at all. So how could it be that the Torah is telling us the study of Torah and the immersion of Torah guarantees us all these material, bountiful blessings? And then the other side of the coin, if one is im holchu im telchu imi bekeri, we walk with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, chas v'shalom, one walks casually, disconnected, one doesn't really perform mitzvahs with zest, with zeal. You're not really interested in Torah mitzvahs, and all these callers come. And we see, of course, so many that are removed from Torah and mitzvahs, and yet they seem to be enjoying the high life. They seem to have everything. Let's see if we can approach this from a little bit of a different dimension and a different angle. We find at the beginning of creation HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the B'riyas Ha'olam creates everything. But the purpose of it all, the final stroke of this master symphony, is missing. V'adam ayin la'avoid es ha'adama. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had not yet created man to till the soil, la'avoid es ha'adama, to work the earth. And the Torah describes that scene as v'terem himtir. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had not yet brought rain. In other words, everything was there. The entire world and cosmos was set, but the on button was not yet pressed. The energy did not yet flow through. The rain, the cycle of rain, had not yet come about because man was not yet there, and that is how man is introduced into the scene, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates Adam Harishon. And Rashi tells us, what does it mean that because man wasn't yet there to till the soil, so therefore the rain wasn't there? And v'adam ayin lavidus adam, Rashi says, Chazal tell us, it means there wasn't yet a man there to pray and to connect it all to Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the entire lower worlds, this entire world, for it to be connected, integrated with the upper worlds. And in order for that link to be made, and for there to be a seamless flow of divine energy from the upper worlds to this world, to the lower world, we need here in the lower world, man that is connecting the lower world to the upper world. He recognizes his boira. V'adam ayin la'avodas adama. We work on the material with all the material disconnects and all those things that hold us back here in this world. Earthly, we're pulled down gravitationally to our earthly moorings, and yet v'adam la'avoid, we're created here to work the earth and connect it to above through tefillah, and after Kabbalah Satorah through Torah and mitzvahs. And then there's seamless integration. Everything flows. There's the himtir, the rain, and the rain is a symbol of that direct and natural flow of energy from above to below and from below to above. Down here in the earth, the actual water that is desalinated, that is perfect for crops to grow, that is not salty, is very little. In this world, it's only about 2 or 3% of the entire water in the world, and much of that is not accessible. And yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his infinite wisdom, creates a system by which the seawater in the heat can actually condense, evaporate, and desalinate and enter into the clouds. And the clouds, although they weigh tons and tons of weight, they're seemingly weightless. They float up in the sky, and the winds will take them, and the rain will flow from them in droplets. It doesn't just come down in one big flop, chas v'shalom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the cycle of life where it comes from below to above and from above to below. And the perfect blessing is expressed in the v'nosati gishmeichem be'itom. It's perfect. It's exactly as it was supposed to be from the beginning of creation. That is when man rises to his ultimate purpose and mission. Man realizes his destiny and connects the earth to the heavens. When we do that, and we're over the Adama, everything is synced. Everything is perfect. The world has realized perfection. And if we look at these brachas, they're not personal blessings. We're going to win the lotto, and we're going to have beautiful homes and cars, and everything's going to be great because we're studying Torah. No, that detracts and distances us. Mar ben chosem, mar bedarga. It just brings worry in its wake. It means, and this is the ultimate blessing. Rav Chanina ben Dosa was the one who epitomized this perhaps in the Gemara, where the Gemara tells us that Chanina ben Dosa was so close to Hashem that Hashem, a heavenly voice, came out and said, the whole world is nizon, is fed, bishvil Chanina beni, for the sake of Chanina beni. Bishvil, the commentaries say, is bishvil in the pipeline. He's the tzinor, he's the flow, the divine flow comes through him, and he just subsists on a kav charuvim. He doesn't want to take for himself. And so this first parasha which talks about the Imtiyu Amelim Batorah, tells us a world in its perfect, pristine state. V'nosati gishmechem be'itam, v'nosna ha'oretz yuvula, v'eis hasoda yitin piriyoi. And everything will naturally flow. The animals of the field will be fertile, productive. The land will be fertile. And there'll be no fear, and no cherev, and no corruption of that divine flow of energy. And yet, Chas v'shalom, when we don't listen to the words of Hashem, the toichacha is not necessarily a personal klala in its simplest sense. It reflects a world that is corrupted. The divine flow is disrupted. Things are out of whack. And we have bahala, shachafas, kadachas, mechales enayim, umedivos nefesh. I want to make this perhaps a little bit more personal, that we can relate to this on a little bit of a more one-on-one level that's relevant to us. Because this isn't simply that HaKadosh Baruch Hu invested this in the Bria, that if we down here fulfill the mission of Adam Arishan, connect the lower world to the upper world, like Adam was supposed to do, connect the 6 days of the week to the world of Shabbos, connect the lower world to the upper world, and then everything is intact and perfect. And when he sinned, Adam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, from now on the earth will no longer yield naturally its produce. Kates v'darda tatzmiach lach. Thorns and thistles will be in your way. They'll spring forth in front of you in all directions. And it doesn't just mean in the material, physical world. It'll be difficult. It'll be a battle to sustain yourself. There's a deeper omel that you're now destined to undertake. We, Adam, each and every one of us is a man. We reflect and represent Adam Harishon. And Adam, just like Adam incorporated, as we've said many times, an olam katan, an entire world, each and every one of us is an entire world. We incorporate within ourselves the whole cosmos, the upper worlds. In our head, our soul, our neshama shines. There's a heaven inside each and every one of us. And it flows through the neck into the body. And in an ideal sense, when there is seamless integration. And the Mishkan, we're a Mishkan. Kimigdal David Savorech. There's a flow from the mind over into the body. And we're connecting heaven and earth because we're harnessing our animalistic instincts and our body to the divine will. Then there's blessing. There's bracha. We, individuals, experience great bracha. There's rain inside of us. It's raining. Rain is wonderful. It's beautiful. We all need sunlight, rain, warmth, good soil, and then we blossom, we grow, we're shining, we're realizing such inner blessing and happiness. We radiate positivity. And we look at the brachas and we see it's all about us. The earth down here, that which is inside each and every one of us, gives forth its produce. Each of us were created with a distinct, special mission in life. And when we're living in a fulfilling manner, there is nothing more satisfying and holistically fulfilling. Everything flows. Ve'etz hasada yitin piriyoi. We're giving forth our fruit. We're affecting others, we're benefiting others, we're constantly engaged. We eat yashon noishon. The old, when we indulge in the material in our world, which is so materialistic, everything has to be new. We look at the old, we want to confine them to the nursing homes. It's new, it's young, it's dashing, it's progressive. And yet, it's so sickly unhappy. It's so cursed. Blessing is when the divine flow of energy and the light throws and shines through the body. It flows naturally. We're animated with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's bracha and his light. And ma'ora, curse, is ma'oris. It's when there's an eclipse, when the light doesn't shine through. And we don't feel the connection. And so we experience all the klolos that the Torah tells us that will happen when we don't listen to Hashem and we don't want to follow his mitzvahs and we want to assert our independence. We want to unshackle ourselves from the yoke of Torah. And we're not naturally connected. And the first things in the Tochacha describe it all. Ve'ifkadeti aleichem, instead of having a pekuda and a pekida and our pikadon and listening to our inner voice, fulfilling our tafkid, instead what we will have is behola. Behola is anxiety, a confusion, a constant sense of yawning, gaping fear. Deep down, the walls of our jail, the walls of our body are shaking a little bit. They're constantly vibrating. It's challenging. We're feeling shachafas. Shachafas, Rav Hirsch describes as depression. We're down. And then we feel, as the Pasuk says, Ve'es ha-kadachas. Kadachas is like fever. We're always excited. Ooh, we need this, we need that. We're running here, we're running there. We don't know where we're running to, but we're running like a chicken without a head. So it's an external, irrational exuberance that is generated by our bodily instincts. We always think we need this and we need that and we need the other. We've got to run, buy, do, go. And then there's mechalis einayim or medivos nefesh. Mechalis einayim. Can't see, there's no outlook. The eyes dry up. You know, when we're living in a spiritual zone and we're happy and positive and we can feel the bracha of Hashem, we're going somewhere. We're moving towards eternity. We're sensing a vision. We see over the horizon. It's wondrous. And when we're living in the eye zone, there's machalas einayim. It all dries up. Or medivos nefesh. Medivos nefesh, we feel weak, shaky, nothing in the stomach. Medivos nefesh. Do we have a generation that is more on the external level, more blessed with greater affluence, physical indulgence, access to anything and everything? We live in each of our homes. We live with more amenities and probably much more wealth in a certain sense than the richest people of earlier generations. Everything's at our fingertips. And yet, is there a generation that experiences more emotional distress than our generation? And it's all here in the Teichacha. It's all here in the klolos of the Teichacha. And it all has to do, and again, the Torah tells us, in Teilchu imi bekeri. Keri, we know on its simplest level, of course, is wasted seed. Keri, going casually with Hashem, is taking our life energy, our ability to access life, and instead of ubochar to b'chaim, instead of choosing life, we choose the eye, we choose the body, we choose to unfetter ourselves from the yoke of heaven. The greatest bracha the Torah describes at the end of it all: I'm going to put my mishkan amongst you, and I'm going to take you out of Egypt to be me, to be my servants. You're not going to feel it as a yoke. You're going to be delighted to do the will of Hashem. Because when there's a telechu, when there's a connection that is intimate, when we suspend seichel, it's a chukos. In Bechukotai telechu, Hashem, I want your chukos. In Bechukotai telechu, and mitzvosai tishmoru doesn't just mean we guard the mitzvahs and we're very careful about every chumrah and every diktuk kal. Mitzvosai tishmoru v'aviv shama es hadava. We find by Yaakov, he yearned, he waited, he held on to it dearly, he guarded it. Ushmartem es haShabbos. We Jews in this world, we're yearning, hoping, longing for the Shabbos. And so the Torah says, Ushmatem es hamatzos. God the matzos, and Chazal say it doesn't just mean the matzos. Matzos are mitzvahs. We're yearning to do mitzvahs. We want to do the will of Hashem. We want to ascertain through Torah what is the will of Hashem. That's a real filial connection. We're one with Him. We want to know what He wants. That's the Amelim Batorah. So instead of the Omel, Adam la Omel Yulad, instead of the Koitz Vedada, we remove the Koitz Vedada. We remove all those impediments and all those feelings that spring forth from the body, that pull us in all different directions. In this Alma de Piruda, this world of diversity, of fragmentation, we're pulled here and we're pulled there, and we feel all kinds of undercurrents that pull us away. Instead, we allow the light to flow through and connect the dots. And we can, because we're all Adam. We're all created in the image of Adam. And we can realize it. Elikim asa es ha'adam yashar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us as Adam. Atem kriyim Adam. Chazal say we're kriyim Adam, because we can replicate and we can attain that level of the original Adam that connects heaven and earth. Atem kriyim Adam. It's the Vaheim, it's all the things that well up inside of us and pull us in all different directions and distract us, all the impulsivities that are Bikshu Cheshbonis rabbis, that have all kinds of Cheshbonis, and they insert in our mind, they sift up from below, and they control the mind and pull us in all different directions. But when the mind is suspended of reason, and there is a Bechukotai to, we go in the chok of the Rabbi Shalom. Bechukotai telechu. In their Bechukotai loisei lechu. We go in the chok of the Rabbi Shalom, we let go of our minds. And we direct our feelings to Hashem. There's such bracha, there's such blessing. It's fascinating, we find the same expression of the chukos in Pashas Chukas, when the divine flow of water that came forth from the rock, Klal Yisrael realized that great blessing, and they sang the Shira, Ali Be'er Enulah, the Shira of the Be'er. And it says there, they saw the water, there was a Mechoikeg B'mishanoisom. Each of the Shvatim took a stick and it channeled, there was rivers that flowed to each of the tribes, and to each distinct family. Each tent had its own little tributary. The water flows from Shemayim. But in order to access that water, there's a mechoikek. The mechoikek is Moshe Rabbeinu. There's a chok. We have to accept the chukos HaTorah. We suspend ourselves, we surrender, we sublimate our desires to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then we experience that flow. The water came in the schus of Miriam, the one that could really sing at all times, independent of external conditions. In Mitzrayim she's singing. She's like water, it's viscous. It flows from above down below. That's bracha. Bracha is a brecha. We're experiencing the flow from Shomayim to Aretz. And we're experiencing it in its most intimate form inside each and every one of us. The pain that we experience in life, when we distill it to its lowest common denominator, of course we get angry. We're angry at this and we rationalize it that, and we're sure that this is bothering us and that's bothering us and this guy did this and that and we've got this problem and that problem. At the source of it all, it's an interruption of the divine flow of light. Yaakov Avinu, at the end of time, Yaakov Avinu, when he fights the angel of Esav, he succeeds in fighting him and dominating him for the entire night. But right before dawn, the Malach Vateka Kaf Yerach Yankov Behe'ovkoi Imui dislodged the thigh. And the sages Chazal tell us it refers to the last generation. The Ikvasa Dimshicha will be wobbly, will be shaky. We won't be standing on firm foundations. Vayizrach lo Hashemesh, Yaakov Avinu walked forward and the sun shone for him. Vayizrach lo Hashemesh, and he's healed. And we too, in our generation, this week is a very important week in the Sphira. We have 7 spheres that we find at the end of Divrei Hayomim Aleph. It's so beautiful. It's worth reading. Kapitel Chaf Tes. How David HaMelech accumulated all the wealth and put everything together for the building of the Beis Hamikdash that was going to connect heaven and earth. He wanted to dedicate everything to Hashem, and he gives expression to it in the most wondrous way. Vayevorech David Esa'am, we say it every morning. He goes through all the midas and he says, to you Hashem, L'cha Hashem, HaChesed, HaGvura, VaTiferes, VaNetzach, VaHoid. And then he talks, those are the first five, and then he talks about the week of the midah of Yesod, which is our week in Sfiras HaOmer, the 6th of the 7th. And he says, Ki choil b'shamayim u'v'aretz, because everything in heaven and earth is yours. L'cha Hashem HaMamlacha, to you is kingdomship. That's the 7th week. And this week is called the midah of Yesod, Ki choil b'shamayim u'v'aretz, because everything is the totality and connectivity of heaven and earth. As we know, the Yesod is the foundation, and that is the midah of Kedusha, of harnessing our animalistic physical instincts and connecting it to the divine, thereby allowing the mind to shine through and connect to the body. What a wondrous week, which is so laden and pregnant with opportunity to prepare for Matan Torah, to prepare for the ultimate revelation and connection of heaven and earth. Not in the world, of course we want it for the world, but within ourselves, in our miniature world. We have to daven, we have to yearn, we have to desire to be able to gain that inner presence of mind, equanimity, serenity. Our goal and mission should be cemented constantly, realigned and recalibrated. Hashem, I want to connect my heaven to my earth. I want to connect my mind to my body. I know there's a lot of distortion, and so often the walls of my body are rattling with all kinds of noise and fears and anxieties. But I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to connect my heaven to my earth, my 6 days of the week to my Shabbos, and then ultimately we'll all be Zeicha B'Korev to the Yom Shekulei Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Okay. Thank you.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Can I give you a title and you'll send it to Torah anytime? You want to do that? Or you know what, just leave it on my desk. I'll ask Mrs. Kirshner, and if she can't do it, then she'll do it. Good, Israch. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Kirshner to do it, and if she can't do it, I will tell her to be in touch with you.
What type of title would you give this year, this particular one?
Let's think of a good title.
Shabbos.
That's what we have.
Connecting heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Connecting heaven and earth.
So,
Healthy electrocution.
That's good. That's gonna get clicks.
so what's a
Okay.
practical plan to like balance out the like the spiritual enjoyment and the material and physical?
Let's get electrocuted.
Let's get
electrocuted.
That's amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
How would you balance out the spiritual enjoyment and the physical enjoyment? Is it a good idea to just try to avoid physical
No, don't
indulgence?
avoid it. Enjoy it. Just try a little bit. We make a blessing beforehand and we say, Hashem, no, I want to be able to connect to you.
Should they go hand in hand though? Physical?
Yes, ideally, yes.
What does it
Ideally,
mean?
on Shabbos we can experience totality of hand in hand. That's why on Shabbos we have lots of good stuff.
But people who are very much like spiritual, like the sages of the Talmud, they didn't
need it.
They didn't need it.
Yeah, they need it in the same way that we need it.
A question relating to what was just said. It says in the Gemara that if you see something and you don't let your body, I guess, get hana from it, you've done a sin, or you're
Yeah.
something of the sort. How do we understand that? Isn't that indulging in the physical world if we just let our eyes get satisfaction or whatever?
It means that we don't do it to make a bracha on it. It's elevated. It's all there for us to connect. The whole world is here. It's exactly what we're saying, to connect to the upper world.
You don't want to completely deny it.
Right.
But
Rabbi.
Right.